I saw it the first time by accident. That's how it always starts. You're on a back road with your fuel light on. You're between towns, between plans, between whatever you told yourself you were doing with your life. And then you crest a hill and see a glow in the distance. Cheap colored lights against dark sky. A carnival, not a big one, not a festival, not the kind with radio ads and billboards, just a traveling setup in a paddock near the edge of town, like it had landed there quietly and expected you to find it. I remember thinking it felt old, not nostalgic. Old. The lights were too dim. The rides looked tired. The big sign out front had the kind of paint that flakes in strips. Even the music sounded wrong, like it was being played from a speaker that had been dropped one too many times. But people were there. Families, couples, teenagers with energy drinks. A normal crowd doing normal things, pretending the world wasn't full of sharp edges. I parked on the dirt shoulder and walked in without paying much attention. The first thing that hit me was the smell. Hot sugar, grease, dust, and underneath it all, something metallic, like the air near a train track. The second thing was the way the staff watched, not stared, not friendly, just aware, like they were counting. I walked past a row of games, ring toss, darts, a shooting gallery where the targets looked sun-faded and tired. The workers weren't the usual carnival stereotype. No big grins, no loud barking, no forced charisma. They stood still behind their booths, with their hands resting flat on the counters, watching the crowd like they were observing a process. I bought a bottle of water from a stall, and the man behind it didn't speak. He just took my money and placed the bottle down like he was placing evidence. I took it and kept walking. The Ferris wheel turned slowly in the middle of the grounds, lights pulsing at a rhythm that felt too steady. The ride cages creaked with every rotation like it was complaining. I watched people climb in laughing. And then I noticed something small, a pair of shoes on the ground near the base of the Ferris wheel. Not lost and found shoes. Shoes placed neatly side by side, toes facing the ride, like someone had stepped out of them carefully. I looked around for a kid, for a parent, for someone panicking. Nothing. No reaction at all, like everyone had agreed not to see them. That should have been enough to make me leave. But the thing about carnivals is they rewrite your instincts. They tell the animal part of your brain, this is a safe place. Bright lights, noise, crowds, sugar. It's a primitive lie and it works. So I stayed. It started closing early, not announced, not shouted, just happening. At about 10:30, lights began to shut off in sections. The music lowered, a ride slowed down and didn't restart. People drifted toward the exit like it was natural, like they'd all been signaled by something I couldn't hear. I checked my phone, still early enough that it didn't make sense. A teenager walked past me carrying a stuffed prize, and the look on his face wasn't sleepy or bored. It was blank, like he'd just woken up. Then a voice cut through the carnival, calm and flat through a cheap loudspeaker. Closing time, thank you for visiting. No, come back tomorrow. No time listed, just closing time, like a verdict. I started walking toward the exit with the crowd, more out of instinct than choice. The dirt under my shoes felt colder than it should have. That's when I heard someone behind me say, softly, "Don't linger." I turned. A woman stood at the edge of a food stall, half in shadow. Her hair was tied back, her face tired. She wasn't wearing staff clothing, but she stood where staff stood, too still, too composed. "What?" I asked. She didn't look directly at me. She looked at my chest, like eye contact was dangerous. "If you linger," she said again, "it closes with you." Before I could respond, a man stepped between us, one of the staff, tall, shoulders square, expression empty. He looked at her like she'd broken a rule, then looked at me. His eyes weren't angry. They were assessing. "Exit," he said, a single word. I left, and I told myself the conversation hadn't happened. The next morning, I drove back past the grounds. There was nothing there, not packed up tents, not tire tracks, not trash, not a sign that hundreds of people had been in that paddock the night before. It was empty grass, perfectly flattened in a neat rectangle, like something heavy had rested there, then lifted. No police tape, no workers, no leftover signage, nothing. I sat in my car, staring at the emptiness, waiting for my mind to generate an explanation. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. In the dirt near where the entrance had been, there was a single strip of paper caught under a rock, a ticket stub. I got out, picked it up, and turned it over. On the back, printed in faded ink, "Valid at all locations." I didn't like that, not because it sounded like marketing, because it sounded like a threat. 3 nights later, I saw it again. Different town. That's not an exaggeration. I was driving through a place I'd never been. One of those towns that has a supermarket, a pharmacy, and not much else. I took a turn off the main road, and there it was, the same glow in the distance, same cheap lights, same tired music, same sign out front with the same flaking paint. At first, I thought it was another carnival, same company branding, same equipment. Then I got closer, and my skin went cold. The layout was identical, not similar, identical. The Ferris wheel placed at the same angle, the shooting gallery on the left, the food stalls to the right, the entrance gap positioned exactly like before. Even the dirt path people walked down was worn in the same curve, like the carnival wasn't traveling, like it was repeating itself. I parked, heart thumping, and walked in. No one checked tickets, no one greeted me. The crowd was different, but the energy wasn't. That same half-dream, half-routine feeling. The staff stood behind their booths with hands flat on counters, watching like they were monitoring a controlled environment. I forced myself to walk the same path I'd walked the first time. And there, near the base of the Ferris wheel, were shoes again. Different shoes, same placement, neat, side by side, facing the ride. A cold sweat broke out under my arms. I looked away quickly and moved deeper into the carnival, trying to prove to myself I was overreacting. That's when I recognized a face, not clearly at first, just a shape of familiarity that hooked into me. A man working the bottle toss game, his posture, the way he held his hands. I walked closer. He looked up, and I knew. He was the man who sold me the water the first night. Same blank eyes, same deliberate movements, but his clothes were different now. An oversized hoodie and jeans, like someone's casual outfit, not a uniform. On his wrist, I saw a cheap festival band, not from this town, from the last. I stared at him until he noticed. His expression didn't change. "Play?" he asked. His voice was flat, like he was reading a line. I saw you in another town," I said. He blinked slowly. Then his mouth twitched into a smile that looked practiced. "Lots of towns," he replied. "That's not possible." He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice like he was telling me a secret. "It's easier," he said, "if you don't remember where you came from. My stomach turned. "What are you?" I whispered. His eyes flicked past me, toward the crowd. Then he said something that made my blood go cold. "We're what's left." I backed away. Should have left immediately. I didn't. Because I'd crossed the line from fear into needing answers. And answers are dangerous when the thing you're questioning is listening. I walked the perimeter, watching the staff more closely. And the longer I watched, the more I noticed something wrong. Some of them had the wrong clothes. Not uniforms, not matching outfits. Just pieces of normal life. A school jacket, a work polo, a wedding ring. Like they weren't hired, like they were kept. A woman ran the fairy floss machine with a blank stare. Her hair was tied back the same way as the woman who warned me not to linger. I approached slowly. Her eyes met mine for a fraction of a second. And in that fraction, I saw panic. Real panic, trapped under a still surface. Then her expression snapped back to blank. "Next," she said. I swallowed. "You warned me," I whispered. Her hand trembled as she reached for a cone. "Don't," she whispered back without moving her lips. I stepped back. A tall staff member in a red jacket appeared beside me, like he'd been standing there the whole time. He didn't touch me. He didn't need to. He just stood close enough to remind my body it was allowed to be afraid. "Enjoy the carnival," he said. It sounded like an instruction. Closing came again, early, the same calm announcement, the same dimming lights, the same slow shift in the crowd as people drifted toward the exit like they had been trained. I forced myself to go with them, heart pounding. At the gate, I stopped and turned back. I don't know why. Curiosity, stupidity, some ugly human need to confirm your own nightmare. The staff were already packing up, but not like normal. They moved with impossible efficiency. Rides disassembled without struggle. Poles folded with no resistance. Lights unplugged and coiled like they were part of a ritual. And as the last visitors left, I saw something that made my mouth go dry. The crowd didn't thin naturally. It reduced. People vanished from the edges inward, like the carnival was draining itself. Not leaving, closing. The air seemed to tighten. The floodlights flickered, then steadied. And in that tightening, I realized what the warning meant. It closes with you, not the gates, not the rides, the carnival itself, like a mouth, like a lid. I walked faster. The staff member in the red jacket watched me from the shadows. I didn't look away. I didn't give him the satisfaction. But when I stepped out beyond the gate, the streetlights of the town seemed too far apart, and the night felt wider than it should have. I got into my car, started it, and drove without looking in the mirror. I tried to convince myself to forget it. You can always forget a thing if you never test it again. So I drove for 2 days, putting distance between myself and that paddock. I told myself it was a traveling show, a weird culty crew, a group of people with some shared performance art thing. Then, on the second night, I saw a flyer taped to a pole outside a servo. Same flaking logo, same font, same words, open tonight, no town listed, no address, just open tonight, like the world was supposed to know. I tore it down and threw it in the bin. My hands were shaking, and as I walked away, I heard the faintest hint of music on the wind. Tinny, distant, familiar. I froze. There was no carnival, no lights, no crowd, just empty road, black sky. But the music was there anyway, like my memory had been infected. Or like the carnival didn't need the tents anymore. It had learned my route. It had learned what I notice. It had learned what I follow. I drove the rest of the night with my windows up, radio off, trying not to hear it. But it didn't matter, because the carnival doesn't chase. It doesn't hunt. It doesn't run you down. It waits for you to do what people always do. It waits for curiosity. It waits for you to stop and look. It waits for you to think. Just one more minute. Because that's all it needs. A minute past closing. A breath too long at the gate. A hesitation. A linger. And then it closes with you. And if you're lucky, you'll forget where you came from. If you're not, you'll remember. Every night. While you stand behind a booth, hands flat on the counter, watching the crowd like you're counting.